Hi everyone, I'm JessGOAT.
And I'm PEngu.
And you guys are watching
Beyond The Siege.
That's right, we have a podcast now.
We'll be talking everything esports.
And also interviews.
And game updates.
Plus tournaments, teams, players, devs, etc.
So, everything Rainbow Six?
Damn straight.
And when do we begin?
How about now? Hi guys, welcome back to another episode 3, mind you, of Beyond The Siege. I'm your host, JessGOAT, and as per usual, I have my beautiful colleague, PEngu, here with me, and we're going to jump into this episode.
And with us, we have a very special guest, someone that I've been looking up to for a very, very long time.
Who could that be?
It's me, PewDiePie!
I knew it before the gag. I knew it. Welcome back, Fabian. We had to have Fabian back. PEngu requested him specifically.
Felix Calibia, actually, for this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to have you back personally. I know you two have been working in the background about a lot of things, but I wanted to pick your brains about something not completely different. This still very much interrupts and interferes with your work, I'm sure, on a weekly basis, but something that interferes with my brain and my mental health on a daily basis. Can we please jump in to what I think is one of the hottest topics of Siege at the moment, if you don't mind me calling it, and that's going to be the second most banned operator that you see on your screen right now, Shields. Shields and the bane of my existence in ranked. I'm going to start with you, PEngu, because you're usually one of the more happy-go-lucky. You tend to be a little bit nicer about things. What is your take on Shields, considering you were one of the best Shields during your career?
So one of the big issues that we Shields right now is that, they've been problematic since I think the beta of the game in different iterations. Was the fast leaning originally, then they had grenades, then they had fast ADS speed, then they had the hip fire. Now they don't have the hip fire. But in every single iteration of Shields, I think the big thing is that we've always wanted like Monty and Blitz to be two separate operators in how they play, how you utilize them. And with the Shield rework, I feel like it fell flat where they have become more of one operator than two individuals, and they've kind of just made it one identity. And everyone's using Shields the exact same way, whether it's the Fuse, the Blitz, or the Monty. So I just feel like they kind of missed the mark on the rework, if you will, overall.
It's more boring. They're just not fun. I said it before the podcast, and I'm going to say it again. Shields are really frustrating to play against, which is not something that is good for a game. When someone feels frustration playing a game, it's just not the right emotion to have when you're playing. I mean, it can be something that happens every now and then, but when it's almost every game, and especially at comp level, right? If you don't ban Shields, you will be playing against them. It's not good. And at the same time as I find them frustrated to play against, they're also really boring to play. Because all you do now is just run up to someone and you press melee, and then you either shoot them or you melee them again, and they're dead.
Yeah.
There's just no goodness in it.
I think for those maybe more casual players who aren't experiencing the frustration that we're talking about, both at a competitive level and even me at a rank level, there's probably three big issues. Number one that I'm noticing a lot is that they're very hard to counter at a high level. I mean, people are talking crossfires, Capcan, Legion. They're not viable. Realistically, in high tier play, that's not a viable counter. There's always going to be someone with the Monty, if not two people with the Monty. You're going to be dealing with someone walking with essentially a walkable mirror, if I will. So I think all of these counters, if well droned and well spotted, are really mute to the point. And he gets melee. The second one is he gets melee priority a lot of the time now. So even you meleeing to try and counter it in that 1v1 position, it makes post plans be really boring. It makes the outcome really obvious. And then I think the third and final, they run motherfucking fast. I don't like horror movies, okay? But when I can hear the clink clink chasing me down, that's when I start to freeze up. I'm starting to make really bad decisions. I hate it. So those three areas of Shields right now, regardless of which Shield you're really going up against, is really frustrating. And I think for those who don't understand our frustration, we're not calling you copper, but oftentimes, if you're getting freebies on Shields, Fabian's right, you're probably playing up against a team that doesn't really know how to play a Shield. And beyond, I would even say gold these days, playing a good Shield is quite easy. So just a disclaimer there for the people who say that there are counters. I would like your pro-level advice to those people who say there are counters, they're not as bad as you think they are. What would you say to that, PEngu? Because I want someone on my side here. I need a clip that I can just start pasting in these comments.
I mean, the simplest thing to do is that you beg them, for all that you got, that they will ban one shield operator and then you will ban the other, only leaving the third option open. Then you only get to deal with one shield at a time. That's what happens in pro level often, right? If you ban the multi, enemy can play blitz and fuse, vice versa. So there's no real winning there. Yes, as you said earlier, crossfires, C4s vertically, trap operators, yada, 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 yada. But think about this. If you want to deal with a shield operator and you pick 2 or 3 separate defenders with trap utility, there are still 4 or 3 other non-shield attacking operators as well. So if you invest all that to counter with one area of the thing, well, there's still a different side to the attack, which is a non-shield, the Grims, the Capitals, the Heartbreaching, etc. So defense gets spread super thin across the board, and I think that's the bigger problem. When shields first got reworked, I was actually saying how I think they're going to be a weaker version of themselves than previously. And in hindsight, I was completely wrong. But I'm always going to defend myself and say I wasn't completely off the bat, because what happened initially when that shield rework came out was that when shields were crouched, their feet would be exposed at all times. I linked the photo in Discord. I'm not sure we can get that on screen right now. But essentially, they hotfixed it after 2 days.
Yeah.
So what you see, the left-hand side of the screen is a very small photo. On year 8, season 4, that was what shields used to be like before the rework. You couldn't shoot them anywhere except for maybe the shoulder, which is very inconsistent. Wow. Then when the shield rework came out, on the right-hand side photo, you see the toes are extremely exposed. So what happened in the first couple of days of ranked, shields would die immediately the entire time. Every single round, they were useless. But then 2 days or so later, they hotfixed it and they returned to the left-hand side picture. And since then, they've been unkillable again.
I've not seen this image.
It's just really hard to kill them. Like, as soon as you have to go up against them one-on-one, how do you win? Especially against Monty, right? How do you win? He just extends, walks up to you, melees you, round over. You can't do anything. You genuinely cannot do anything.
Yeah,
it's not fun.
Yeah,
and I think that's like, in the end, it is a video game. It's about to be fun, no? At least that was the way I see it. But then when you add on top of that, it's just not fun at any level. It's not fun at casual, and it's not fun at competitive. Unless, I guess, if you're playing the shield, it might be fun if you're playing against noobs all the time. But even then, I wouldn't say that that's fun.
Well, I think the resounding opinion from this podcast, at least from the PSG Talon side of things, is that shields are suck. We hope that there is some kind of nerf coming or a change that will really put them back in their place. Because, you think about, at least in my career, we had players like PEngu, we had players like Julia, who really mastered how to play blitz well. And it wasn't easy to play blitz well. It wasn't easy to always fit in a composition. So it was cool to have players like that who could play a slightly difficult operator well and make good use of it. Now, really bad players can play a really easy shield and get away with it. So I'm glad that we can possibly clip this, and these podcast clips will go around, and maybe we can shut down some of these shield lovers that I'm seeing all over Twitter. But nevertheless, hadn't seen that image. Good to see it. Good to come out. Speaking of things that are coming out, not surprised with this continual Fenrir ban and whatnot. Same with Capcan coming out. I don't know how much of that is cheaters.
Capcan on console is massive. That's the big thing. Like, you see the PC console ban ratio in general is so drastically different because of thing with the control with mouse and keyboard. So on PC we see Fenrir. We'll see it on console, but Capcan always has above 50% ban rate. I think the last many years.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. I like that Fenrir is still up there. I like that even after his change, I don't think necessarily that you should over nerf an op. He's allowed to be good. And when you do ban other defensive operators, you have to think about, you have to bring the Brava, the Twitch, the whatever you want to deal with it. I like that you have to think about, and that you have to drone more. So for me personally, I think the change was good. He has less of them. It's easy to drone. So I don't think it's too much of an issue. I will say, just sort of tying up our shield discussion here, there was a mention about shields and how much they are going to, remove being overly oppressive, and they want to make sure that those, in future
What does that mean, though? What does that mean? Because I thought the rework was supposed to do this, right? Because they had hip fires before. They made them less oppressive by giving them this crazy new melee mechanics. So what will they do now to make them less oppressive for the third time? That's what I'm wondering about.
There are a lot of people that are suggesting, I don't know what you think about this, Fabian, that you be able to shoot and it slows them all the way down. In my personal opinion, excuse my French, that is a shit way to deal with the current oppression.
That already exists.
That already exists. Yeah,
yes,
you shoot a shield now.
But you have to shoot it about 30 rounds.
Correct. But it's the moment a bullet hits, they are super, super slow. To me, that doesn't really overly change how powerful Monty, for example, is in a round. And so if he's in my face and I have to reload or I have to go to my secondary or whatever I have to do because I've been popping shots at him, this is assuming it's a 1v1, mind you, he's still incredibly oppressive. I mean, if he gets within radius of me, he has priority. It's still a bad time. I don't think it deals with the issue per se. And he gets the ADS at lightning speed as well. So what are your thoughts on that particular? How would you balance him, Fabian, if you were part of the dev team?
It's really hard to say. I mean, showing the feet to begin with, obviously when he's not extended for Monty would be a start.
Okay.
But again, I don't know how to fix them because I just think that like before they were not as oppressive.
Mm-hmm.
Now they are much more oppressive. And it's like, can we go back to the old stuff? No, we're not going to do that. That's just not going to happen. We all know that. It's very hard to say, hey, let's go back to what we had before. And we also know that with Ubisoft as a company, they haven't really had that like switch back even when things are going wild. I don't know how to fix him. I genuinely don't know because I just don't have like, okay, how can we improve him in the same way or like fix him? Just ain't got the clue. None. Because I don't know if there is a fix for him.
That's fair.
It's just going to be a sidestep, no?
Yes.
I've been thinking about one way to do it. I'm a huge fan of when it comes to like decision making and positioning side of Rainbow Six Siege, and I think there's a way to do it with Monty. The big issue that I find with Monty is that he can be extended forever, which means he's never punished for going too aggressive because he'll just stay extended and he'll be fine. What if you gave his extension the same ability as like Caveira Vigil, where it's like a scanner or like a progressive bar? So you extend, let's say it drains at a certain rate. You can be extended for a total of 20 or 30 seconds, for example. This gives you a window of aggressive opportunity where you are completely in control as the multiplayer, but you can't infinitely block a doorway. You can't infinitely be extended in a 1v1 because, as mentioned, diffuser's down, you're up against the Monty. We all know it's completely unwinnable. He's going to be extended the entire time and you just lose. So giving it a timer could be one way to do it. Maybe take away his melee capability at all. Make Monty like a drone, information, map control operator instead of a killing machine. I think there are ways around it, but they require a lot more, detail and finesse than just simply saying he can't hipfire anymore or he can. It takes a bit of coding with this one.
Yeah. If you guys are watching this on YouTube or wherever your platform you're watching this, put your ideas below. I guarantee by the time we put out this podcast, there still won't be any changes. I can make that pretty safely. So you guys will have all the chance to brainstorm in the comments below. So please do. But I'm going to wrap this one up by saying, do you guys have any special points about Yana?
They've been wanting to make Yana a support operator for a very long time.
Oh, wow.
They said that in a previous blog post. So this is one of the many steps. Like they gave her secondary MPs, for example.
Yep.
Now she gets a lower cooldown on her droning. She is going to become, instead of an entry, become a support over a longer period of time, it looks like, which I think is completely fine, honestly.
Yeah, I like
Is she
that.
really going to become a support though?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, look at her gun. The gun is just so good that no matter what they do to her, people will still play her for her gun.
It's true.
Which kind of makes her an entry.
But before, it's like she had a droning gadget, but she was an entry, so she drones for herself, it dies, and she has no info. So she's in an awkward spot, regardless of which side of the coin she's on, I feel like. There's no perfect scenario.
Something I really enjoy now that Jackal is not the focus ban, and I love the PDW and the amount of bullets and no recoil that thing has, highly underrated. He has two of the best guns, in my opinion, with no recoil. PDW, C7, and now if you keep your gadget on, let me just take all this and just condense it for you. If you keep your gadget on and you are roam clearing, which is one of the things I hated, I would turn off my Inox scanner because I was scared of being shot, and it makes a fuzzy, distorted, you can't see shit. Now you can keep it on, you can get shot, it will keep clear, and you'll be able to continue your gunfight. That is really, really important for roam clearing, and I could say that now I could probably take Jackal and do almost like a solo roam clear if I had to. If I didn't have that support, I could with him. I think that's really, really cool.
It's a good quality of life change. It reminds me of the castle change Fabian as well, where castle back in the day had to rip down a barricade and put up the castle. Nowadays, you can put the castle barricade over a normal barricade and destroys the old version. This is like a quality of life upgrade that is like long overdue, you can say, but super happy that it's finally here.
Mm-hmm.
It's super, super nice. It just makes it a simpler character to play, but not like dumbing it down.
Yeah.
But just making him less. I wouldn't say that he will be more situational, but like that you can use him more. Because I still think he was fine before, but it just adds something to him that it makes it simpler, easier, more enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, there is another operator we're going to bring up very soon, speaking about clearing things and doing things and everything. We won't bring him up yet. We will bring up my Australian friend, Mozzie, because it was yet again another thing no one really asked for, but now I think about it, maybe with the pick rate, let's scroll back up so we can confirm with ourselves. These are ban rates. Yeah, I mean, he's not on any of these ban rates per se. Is there win delta doing something with Mozzie? No, he's in the gutter. So clearly the devs thinking to themselves, well, he used to be played quite a lot. He's not really being played now. What can we do to add a little bit of oomph to his, entirety of his package? They certainly couldn't make the Roni better. I think that would be controversial. The Commando has no recall and everything. You can take that if you want to, so that's fine. I would pick the Roni personally, but as you please. So what could they really do? So they gave him an extra pest to be able to work with. And as someone who heard that and started picking Mozzie every single freaking round since I heard that, I've covered entire power positions with one operator. So for me, love it. I feel if we're going on an OP scale, where 5 being fair, 0 being, nothing, and 10 being too overpowered, I think it's a 6 or 7 change.
Impact grenades in the 4th pest. I mean, Fabian, do you think it means that you gotta work with Benja Master again? Is it time? He's a Mozzie master. He loved that operator, or is this not good enough?
Good luck convincing him to come to Korea. I don't think that the change is that big, because the reason that Mozzie fell out, I think a lot of it comes down to other operators just being stronger. Yeah. And we still have that problem. Will Mozzie be picked more? Yes.
Probably, yeah.
But it's like, yeah, okay, so people used to play Mozzie aggressive, and you use his gadgets to deny droning, or even to catch drones to place them in positions. But with the impacts, that kind of promotes a more aggressive playstyle, right? Where you go more aggressive, you jump out, you go through walls, you find your own way through the map. But at the same time, adding another pest to him is also promoting more passive play, where you use your drone more effectively. You're actually droning for your other defenders. Mm-hmm. It's like it's a buff, both positive, both moves are good, and both of them can be played in different ways. Mm. Will we see a much more pick rate? Highly doubt it. Okay. Definitely going to go up a few percentages. I don't know what percentage he's picked right now if you look at all the top regions, but if he's at down at like a 3-4% pick rate, I wouldn't mind him going up to like 6% with this, right? Mm. It's not going to be that big of a change, but it's a positive change nonetheless.
But speaking of the changes, this is my favorite part of this podcast. I know you've all been waiting for it. Yes, it is indeed, because my man Zero, who's already like decent, has gone into like front-running position in my ranked games. I have a camera inside people's souls. It's halfway through the round, and I know exactly what they're thinking. I have that many cameras. He now has they didn't just buff it by 1. They said you can have 6 cameras and a hard breach charge, and you can just F them the hell up in any way you please. I was like crazy about this change. I don't know what you guys think, but for me, this was there because people are so lazy and ranked. It was free.
Controversial is like the one line that I will use.
Okay. Why? You got to go deeper. You can't just stop there.
It's just, I think like power creep, when you start giving people that much utility in general, the only way to make, so I think there's 2 ways, like let's say long-term vision for Siege, right? When these kind of things happen. Either you need to go like the Dota 2 route and make everything kind of overpowered because that becomes balanced, or you're now going to be in this awkward situation where some operators have so much utility. 4 Banshees on Melusi, 6 Argus camera on Zero, and then you go back and look in the rear window and it's like, Bandit has 4 Bandit batteries. It's completely useless. You have operators like Kaid with 2 Kite Claws, and while the 2 Kite Claws are great, when you have 6 Argus cameras, you have 2 tries per Kite Claw on average. It becomes, again, just like a redundancy of utility, and either people need to be buffed to catch up, or they'll be left behind to, in the dirt.
Are you saying that Bandit should have 8
7.
batteries.
Okay, I was
Okay.
gonna say 7 actually. No, I mean, I think right now it just feels like there's a very big gap between how much utility pieces that people bring, and I don't like the idea of picking something just because you have too much of one thing.
Mhm.
Ying has 4 Candelas and 2 smoke grenades. Grim has 5 canisters of bees that last 10 seconds each. Zero has 6 Argus cameras, which is 4 Banshees. Fenrir had 5 mines. Asami has 7 fucking heal barriers. What's the one common factor? They're all super commonly played professional and ranked because they have so much to use every single round.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's just, why is the reason for him getting 6? Is it just because they want his play rate to go up? Or
Yeah.
is there a balance reason behind it? Because I don't see like the balance reasons behind it. It just feels like, as you say, they're adding more just to see him being played more, but they're not thinking about the bigger picture of things.
Where is he? Am I
Maybe it
blind?
should have been.
That's a defender. You gotta go up.
Oh, where am I? Yeah.
You
Guys,
see,
I'm
yeah,
looking-
he's second worst. He's second
Yeah,
worst.
but the question is he second worst because of his gadget, being that he has too few of his gadget, or is he second worst because his gun is, I mean, his gun is good, but it's not great. But is he also kind of like his gadget is not strong enough in terms of what the gadget does, rather, or like maybe it's too big. Maybe that should be in the change. Or
Mm.
maybe
They both-
the camera shouldn't go through the wall until you are like seen on the other side of the wall until you go through it.
But they did that. They did that
Oh,
like
they
8
did
months
that?
ago. Yeah. So
Oh,
8
then-
months
Mhm.
8 months ago, they did a rework where when you shoot the gadget onto a
Yeah.
wall, it will
Yeah.
not go across until you activated yourself.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually,
You had to
no,
dig
but that
it in
just
there.
shows how,
Yeah.
how useless it is. I mean, but the question is again still, is it because bad players play him?
Yeah.
I probably lean more towards that than
I
it is
agree.
about.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
I just don't know how his gadget can be used well though, because again, it's like it's so. Once you see someone fire it, it's so easy to just kill it.
Mhm.
Whilst someone is firing a Grim gadget, well, it's already too late. You're
Yeah. Zero change could be really, really sneakily cool for tracking a lot of data that I don't think Ubisoft is tracking in a while, and being one of my biggest pet peeves in ranked, where really, really fucking lazy players don't ever communicate, don't ever ping, don't ever use cameras, don't ever do anything. So maybe they can track some data. I don't know. I would love to see the metrics if they do. Speaking of metrics, sad. There is one sad change in this entire patch note for me. Losing the breaching charges and getting hard breach charges, I think was a miss. I think Zofia was good with breaching charges. I enjoyed being able to have her, destroy, some Azamis, blah, blah, blah. But I could also use her breaching charges vertically or castles, etc. if I was out of my impacts. I liked the soft breach. What do you guys think? What do you think, Pengu?
I think there's a middle ground that was kind of missed here. You know how they started adding a third option for secondary utility?
Right.
Why replace the soft destruction and hard destruction when you just have the option of both? Because there are certain attacks where I think Zofia hard breaching is an upside. But
Okay.
like you just said, I also think there's a lot of scenarios where Zofia without the soft destruction, despite her gadget, of course, is going to be missed.
Yeah.
Why not give her a third option so you can choose based on the attack that you want to do?
I mean, you kind of lose her as a vertical character
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
You do.
She was picked before because she had just such a viable set, and like you had so many things you could do with her. I mean, obviously against some other operators that are in my eyes stronger, maybe she's not picked that often, but they've just removed the reason for it. Yeah, sure. Now you can pick it instead of hard, but there are so many more better primary gadget operators with hard breach gadget as their secondary.
Yeah.
That I don't think that they're getting out from this what they wanted to. And
Good point.
hopefully they will give her back the breach charges, but as a third one, as you said, Nick.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That you're right that there are just better operators that has the secondary hard breach gadget with a better primary gadget, and maybe even Zofia being a 1-speed. I don't personally care all that much for it, but I know it's a very big talking point, and I do think the average person being a 1-speed is just so much anti-fun. Make her
It is
fast.
anti-fun. It is anti-fun.
It is anti-fun. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think our ideas might not be best put in the game, except for, of course, some of the things we discussed earlier. Speaking of discussing, I now get to put Fabian in the hot seat because we get him on another episode.
Oh,
And the reason we brought him in for another episode was to pick his brain about passion. So don't get me wrong, but I also wanted to pick his brain about specifically where is PSG Talon, and by where is PSG Talon? Where are the boys? Why are they not in Montreal? What has happened recently? I have to deep dive into this. The community needs to know what's been happening in the background. Let me give a visual representation of all. Let's make sure this is showing. It is. We have a common enemy in Korea that seemingly has our, competitive future by the chokehold. That is Fear X, and we have struggled against them, and as a result, we do not qualify for Montreal. Talk us through, Fabian, what happened since, I suppose, LCQ to now.
So it's not just LCQs to now. Honestly, it's all the way from Manchester. And like, whilst our online stage looked great, there is a new thing that's come to this team that we didn't expect, because I think that we've downplayed the pressure on them, like in terms of how much they should have. They have started putting pressure on themselves that is very hard to work with. Now they're expecting themselves to be the best team in Korea at all points, which in my eyes they are when they don't put the pressure on themselves. But it's like this idea of they need to be the underdog to perform, which is very, 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 very hard to work with, especially when you're no longer the underdog. And obviously, when we're working as coaching staff, it's on our job to help them with these things. But this is where language barrier and culture barrier comes in absolutely massive, because we didn't know this until we were already done with the stage. We had no idea about the things that went on into the team because they don't approach us with it. And I think it's very open, or I find it a big importance to be very open, even with the community. And I don't mind airing a little bit of dirty laundry for our team. I don't think that they handle this stage professionally, and that's for other reasons we're going to get into a bit later. But yeah, the long story short, they put a lot of pressure on themselves. Because they put a lot of pressure on themselves, they failed themselves, and they choked. That's simple. They choked, and that happens.
Just so I suppose the viewers understand, how does that manifest? When you say they're putting pressure on themselves, how does that manifest? What do you see happening? What physically and during the game, after the game, before the game, what happens? And you just go, yep, that's them putting too much pressure.
There's an important part in every single video game, and especially in high level. You need to enjoy yourself when you're playing. You need to have fun. They weren't having fun.
Wow.
And they were arguing, and they created a lot of internal frustration with each other that we had no idea even existed.
Wow.
It even went so far as to, after the game against D+, we had a massive conversation, and it basically came out that some players just can't stand each other on the individual level. And when that comes out the day after you've lost the grand final, and we as staff have not been told a single word about it, we haven't even told that there's an issue here. It's very hard to sort those issues out when you don't know they exist, right? And again, it comes back to us as staff, because in the end, we are the ones responsible ultimately. Always is. Like, we cannot pretend that we are not the ones responsible, right? But at some point, there needs to be a communication, and that communication wasn't open. It wasn't clear. And at that point, and I think that everyone involved in the staff on this side, like both Nick, me, Jonathan, which is our analyst, and Dongok, our manager, I don't think any one of us could have expected this or seen it happening. And then it just hits us like a sledgehammer when it needs to hit us the least. Like, this is the one moment where it's not allowed to happen.
Yeah.
That's when it happens.
Wow.
And it's a lingering effect, right? It's not like you lose the finals, you have that conversation and it goes away. It lingers for a very long time, because now you have a problem. We want to talk about how to solve the problem. They don't necessarily want to talk about how to fix the problem, but they recognize that they have to. It's a long process. It's about emotions, right? And these are mostly younger / less experienced players, besides Yas, of course. So it's not like they have a lot of experience to work on this themselves either. So it's not an easy fix.
No, I mean, if we look at it from the perspective, again, as I said, I think it's important to be open and honest. And the boys themselves knows how much of a failure this stage was. A lot to be to do with behavior. We didn't practice before LCQs. Yeah. Because they couldn't.
We needed a break.
We were forced into taking a break before LCQs. And with the Japan qualifiers, it had to be the mentality of, boys, we're playing for fun.
Yeah.
We cannot put ourselves in the position of, we're not going to do any new theory, because new theory is not going to change anything. We just have to play and do what we can, do our best, and hope for, I don't know, God's intervention that things will go through. And it didn't. And one thing that is very sad, and I'm not going to name any names on this, because I don't think that the players needs to be kept as an individually like irresponsible. I think them as a team and us as staff, we could have done a better job, I guess, but it's really hard to see what you should have done different when you didn't know. They gave up matches. They literally gave up mentally. In the LCQ Grand Final, we lose to Calais, maximum overtime. Last round is 5-on-3, and our boys trolls it. They gave up at that point. They literally gave up with 2 maps left to play. How do you do that? And this is where I think cultural difference comes in, and this is where I think that the difference in mindset comes in. Because even when G2 back in the day when we were playing, Nick, were on the verge of disbanding, and we went to SI 2022, SI 2020, I said multiple times in the hallway going back after games, Nick, I think we're winning this event.
Yeah, you have to. Even if you don't believe it.
I genuinely meant it.
Yeah, but even if you didn't mean it, right? You have someone has to be like the voice of reason, because let's say you're 5 players in the team, there's not count support staff, and everyone feels like you can't win it. Someone has to be the guy who says, guys, we're gonna win. We're the best team in the freaking world. We're the best team in Korea. We got this, or whatever. Or you start saying bullshit like, these guys suck to do with aggression. Let's play aggressive. You just bullshit your way into it mentally. Someone has to do it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a very
another
common
problem.
Yeah, it's a very common mental trick used across teams and Olympic teams for even have those, mental coaches that go through and teach them fake it till you make it. I think it's one of the most fundamental, things you can teach players. So I like that idea, but it's also Fabian, where do you go with this? Because if there's a cultural divide, that's going to always exist, how do you overcome? How do you bridge that? What is without going too specific, of course, how are you going to bridge that gap?
It's a work in progress. Like, I'll be honest and say, because of how big the differences are, I don't know. And that's where I think it's very important for me to be honest as well, right? If I knew everything, we wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's work for us as staff to do that I still haven't figured out.
Okay.
And I don't know if I ever will, because again, it comes to massive cultural differences about how you need to think and how you need to approach things. Because the gap is just that big. It's like people can say that, oh, you should know better. You've won everything. And the same goes for Nick, right? We won everything there's to win. How can we not get these guys to win in a region where there only exists 3 teams? There doesn't exist. Well, let's be real. Mir is still there, but
3.5.
They're not 3.5.
Yeah.
We should know. We're experienced enough to know. Why don't we? Well, I wish I had the answer, because if I knew, I would tell you, right? I would tell you straight away.
It's funny because when we first took on this opportunity and this challenge, Fabio and I looked at each other and went, this is going to be such a different problem to solve because of how different the circumstances are. Yeah. It's not going to be just like, we're working with a European team, but then we joined the roster and we didn't feel many of the problems that we feared would happen. And then now we've actually hit that wall where it's, okay, snap. Now we're at the point of we don't know how to handle this, like we feared in the beginning, but we almost had a full competitive year of not finding that problem. But now we're here. We have things that we want to try, but we don't know if it's actually going to work yet. We're going to have to see long term if these changes will come to fruition or not.
I suppose nothing good comes easy, is what you're essentially saying. Is like,
no,
you achieve fast, quick greatness. And I said to a lot of people, at least on my stream, I said, you bring in some of the best. You expect to go leaps and bounds, especially very quickly. That initial fuse gets lit, and a lot of things can happen really quickly. But as you know, the fuse is only so long, and then you have to rebuild the firecracker. You have to go again, right? And people start to catch up. They start to learn your ways, and players start to, of course, stagnate out and whatnot. So, for the future of PSG, Fabian, you're telling me, give you guys some time to work out the kinks, work through this. What should we expect? What's next? Because there's no Montreal. You just finished the Japan. What's next in line competitively, especially for those who don't know the calendar so well? And what should we expect? Should we maybe give a little bit more of leeway in the next 6 months, or should we expect the same top tier level?
We should be expecting us to be the best team in Korea. And one, we are on a good day where we have the right mentals. we are the best team in Korea. It's honestly, it is that simple. But we're lacking this. This would be a little bit straight on the point, I think, and a little bit aggressive on some people in the team. We are lacking a leadership figure within the group of players that is taking care of okay, boys, now we're doing this. And we're lacking understanding of theory, I will say as well, which it's like, this is another one of those cultural problems. Or at least this is what I feel is a cultural problem. They have a tendency to say that they understand whilst they don't really seem to understand. It feels a lot of the time that they get to explain something and they're like, oh yeah, we get it. And then you can mention the same thing to them for months on end and it doesn't get applied. The biggest one here is like just a simple drone game. Holy moly, the amount of times I've repeated myself on, guys, you need to talk to each other about the drones. You need to communicate and say, hey, this person move this drone to this position. Or this person, you are holding this drone, I'm holding this drone. Like even, I see in matches, and officials and in practice, I can see 3 people holding the same camera. And then we're not holding the one that's actually holding our flank. It's like, guys, why were you not holding the camera? It's like, you guys know how we do this, right? Yeah, we know, we understand. Well, clearly not. So it's a tough time where obviously now I'm pushing blame. Sure, I am. But I also think that there has to be a level, and this is where I think Korea has been struggling because they don't have the same level that we're used to back home. They're not the same level of professionals because they haven't had to be. And I mean, we can only push them so much. Because I don't think what we've been teaching them has been wrong. And I mean, it clearly showed that in the beginning of it that it worked. And also the player changes, they made sense. I mean, I've heard people talking about how we made too much player changes. But let's be open about them and why they were there. Neither Roy Boy or JLT were able to brag at the level we needed them to be on a tier 1 team and compete against the top of the top in Europe and Brazil and North America. The kill death ratio on some of the players there, Roy in boot camp in Poland had a less than 0.5 KD in practice against tier 1. And I would be honest to say it was half tier 1, half tier 2 European teams. If you have a negative 0.5 or less KD, I think it was like 0.44. If you have that KD in practice over 2 weeks, how the hell are you going to go up against BDS? I mean, we still did beat them. But that was because one player was pushing numbers.
Yeah.
And then JLT, he was fragging slightly better, but he was at 0.6-ish. But he wasn't speaking. Like, he doesn't come with ideas. He doesn't talk. And that's another issue with Korean players. They're very silent. It's if I, as a supreme leader, tell them to follow a strat, they're not looking for improvements. They're not looking for ways to change this to the better. We're not learning from it whilst we're playing it. It's like what it says you follow and you don't question things. And that's where I, as a European, are like, the way that you improve, the way you become better, the way you become someone that actually people listen to is by challenging everything you see and hear. Because if you think that you're smarter and better than everyone else, and you are working at that level where you actually are, nobody's going to beat you. But if you constantly never try to improve it, then everyone will. So it's, I'm harsh on them. They are harsh on themselves. And I think it's, again, important to be open and honest with both the community, but also the players. And we have spoken to the players a lot about these things. So this is not coming as a surprise to them when I'm telling them, or if they even watch this. I don't know. I don't care. We have spoken about this in private.
Yeah.
Now I'm speaking about it in open so that it's not to defend ourselves in any way, shape, or form. It's more to explain it because I don't think there's anything we need to defend. It's disappointing. No. And I think the players are. I'm disappointed. Everyone is probably disappointed. So it's just the situation we're currently finding ourselves in.
Okay. Well, what is next on the competitive calendar? Is it 2025? Is that the next opportunity to see you guys play?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's a long time. I'm trying to sleep away my depression. It's not working. I slept 14 hours today. It didn't fix anything. But yeah, no. It's we're just hoping because it's nothing in our hands anymore. We need to place better in terms of the SI points.
Okay.
But again,
yes.
it's all up to other teams. We have no say in it. If the teams are placing a specific way, we're not going to go.
Yeah. So the upcoming major, we're going to watch and just cross our fingers that certain teams lose before they get too far. Otherwise, we get 17th and top 16 makes SI. So we get locked out by a few points and a single spot on the rankings.
Yep.
I believe
and it's all our own fault.
This is the global standings, if I am not wrong. And if I go down here, we have a beautiful color right next to our name. And that, with the other APAC teams also possessing a beautiful color next to their name. I'm lying. It's a very ugly baby poo color. But nevertheless, that baby poo color says, danger! You are not confirmed as per all these beautiful green colors. You're not in the middle, possibly, maybe. You're not dark red, you're out. You're in this weird tie, numbers are looking weird, things have to go a certain way. Baby poo color because you're waiting for someone else to possibly do something to decide your fate. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. All the teams below us, basically, there are a lot of them that are right below us. They're all at the major. And if they get certain placements, they will go above us in points. We cannot get any more points because we're not playing any longer. If we get lucky, we make SI. Unlucky, we go through the last chance qualifiers for SI, which we don't have a good success rate at so far, given what happened this stage. And if we don't make SI, we have to sit on the bench from now until, 4 months into next year? It's going to be a good while at least.
When Jesus comes back, so do we.
That's the one. Yep, that's the one.
There you go. If I scroll down this list, of course, you guys can get this on Wikipedia. It's under Six Invitational 2025 Global Standings. You can follow this throughout. This being one of those teams in America that's made a big impact if you'd like to see as well. But there are 86 teams who are essentially in the running for Six Invitational. We are still one, but we are fighting the baby poo color that we sit in currently. So please give us all of your hope and power and energy because we need that one to make it. To tie off today's podcast, and a big shout out for going in depth there, Fabian. I've been super keen on getting behind the scenes about Teams One and honesty about what actually happens competitively. So in the future, please do come back to the podcast because I want to ask a little bit more specific things, especially from a coaching and support staff perspective. Maybe we'll do an episode on that into the future. But Montreal Major is coming up. I'm going to say to the class right now, raise your hands if the fans might be able to see you in Montreal and come say hello, take a photo, do those things. Slowly raise your hands now if you'll be at the Montreal Major.
I didn't even want to go.
Are you not going?
No.
2 of the 3. We almost had the Grand Slam. We almost had the Grand Slam of every single PSG Talon representative going. We also, and here's a little bit of a, I don't know, it's a spoiler. I don't know, will my marketing manager get angry at me? You know what? I love you, Salim. We have another PSG Talon representative who will be in Montreal with us, who has just signed off on a contract. It is not playing related. It is not support staff related. We have not announced it yet, but we are excited that as an organization, we get to, I don't want to give it away too much. We get to bring someone in that is part of the big part of the Siege community, an important part of the Siege community, in my opinion, one that other orgs are not doing and not signing, which I think is super cool. We've already one of a kind organization by having incredible support staff, incredible content creators. We're the only org with this amount and this experience in the organization as well. But we're going one step higher. I can't wait for you guys to see that announcement. Make sure you're following on, I think it'll go on the Twitter. That's where I post everything because I'm a degenerate. I use Twitter all the time. So definitely go on Twitter. Do check it out. PEngu and I will film that announcement soon. But yes, if you want to watch PSG Talon and the team, you're going to have to go back on replays for this year. Hopefully we make Montreal. If you want to see PEngu and I, we will be at the Montreal Major. But before we sign off here, Fabian, do you have anything, especially because, like I said, we're not going to see you guys, at least in a playing capacity. Are you streaming? What are you doing? What's happening with you?
I'm playing Tarkov, if anything. It's, that's it, I guess. But yeah, But yes, you have already leaked during this episode who it is. In the intro, we were talking about a specific person.
Oh my god, guys! I think we're bringing it to our bit. It could be a bitch lasagna, possibly, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you like to eat, then that's what you like to eat. We don't judge here.
Are you streaming any of your taco content?
Yeah, sometimes, but it's nothing important, so I don't care.
I'm going to tune in. I'm putting you on my TV. You're going up. I don't care what you say.
You do that if you like.
I'm doing it. I'll get some Fabian content. If you guys want to get some Fabian content, please go follow him. We'll make sure that his link is down below. PEngu is also streaming. I am streaming an abysmal amount of rank because the cheaters have decided to, challenge the new, binary hardening system that Siege has put into the game. That has been, I can't believe they finally worked out a way to mostly challenge cheaters. Fingers crossed that stays. But other than that, that is all we have for you guys in this episode. I think it's spanned over an hour. We try and keep it short. We always fail, so we can't wait to fail you on our next episode where we go over the time and our marketing manager begs us not to. We're going to do it again. I promise you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're following all of our socials. And we'll see you for episode 4 whenever we all manage to get time to get together, and hopefully we can drag Fabian back here. Please put in the comments, at him, spam him, tell him to please join next episode because he is a wonderful guest. And we would love to, we would spam him constantly. We love you, messages, ads, I don't care what it is, but please, PEngu, do you have any signing off words?
No, I mean, if not, tag Fabian, tag somebody you do want to see in the show as well, because you do want to expand around. We had Thursday at EWC, for example, with Fabian to open things up. Fabian again. We also need new guests, so anybody that people are keen on, let us know. We can look into that as well.
Throw them below, guys. Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure if we can get him. If we do, it'll be the biggest podcast episode that's ever existed in Siege. But nevertheless, we'll catch you guys next episode, whenever that happens to be. Maybe we'll film it in Montreal. Maybe we can. Or maybe you guys can give a guest in Montreal, and maybe you guys can wave sign in the back of the podcast. I'm not saying that possibly we'll have PCs that do it, but I'll try and make it happen. See you guys later. Bye.